Hi, this is Dr. Cyrus Veil, child psychologist, and I'm responding to a very lovely comment I got from It's Only Me, I believe is the name of the poster, about a video I did a few years ago on why I'm so opposed to taking away teenagers' phones as a behavioral management strategy. The commenter said something to the effect of, well, my nephew, I believe, was caught doing some really inappropriate things on his phone, such as looking at adult things on the internet, as well as engaging in cyberbullying. And it's my sense that this commenter, justifiably so, is posting this as a way of saying, well, here's where this kid's phone really needed to be taken away. What do you got to say about that, Dr. Veil? I'll try to post a link to the video below. Just a quick, warning is that video was done when I still had my old name before I legally changed it. And also, I was wearing a considerable beard, which I wore for a long time, and then a couple years ago shaved it off. So I'm going to look a little different, and I'm going to have a different name on that video, but it's on the same channel. So I would completely agree with this commenter that this is an exceptional situation to the idea that I normally say about let's avoid punishing kids because it doesn't do a whole lot of good. I probably won't unpack too much why I'm so opposed to punishment in general with kids, just because I do that a lot and I tend to rant and rave, and it'll make this video a little bit too long. Where I would distinguish what I call an intervention or a limit with a punishment, because in general, the way that people use the word punishment with kids and the way that they think about punishments, it's effectively an aversive thing we're going to do to the kid in order to kind of control them and signal our displeasure and disapproval with their behavior. And not a lot of thought is really given to whether or not that's actually teaching the kid new behavior, or if the limit seems to be logical and connect. So with what I'm going to describe as, let's just call it a limit as opposed to a punishment, I'm all for those things and have helped parents craft and make those decisions in, hundreds if not thousands of situations. Which is funny because you might say, aren't you so opposed to punishments? Well, yes, in the way that most people think about them. So in this particular case, when we have a kiddo who is engaging in some very inappropriate behavior with a cell phone, it makes perfect sense that we need to sit down and say, I'm not going to let you engage in illegal and hostile and cruel behavior towards others, which is to say the looking up adult content, which is illegal. And also, I believe the poster said that this kiddo was something like 12 years old. I mean, I probably don't need to unpack a lot of why we don't want a kid that age to be looking up adult stuff, right? Also, the cyberbullying, obvious deal breaker. I would consider this to be relatively similar to a kiddo who, say, around this age, is, playing video games a lot rather than doing homework, especially if it's in such a way that grades are suffering way too much. I don't necessarily consider it to be the video game's fault per se, because video games are kind of neither here nor there. They're just kind of a fun hobby. But I certainly would say, well, see, the issue is you're coming home when you've got a mountain of homework to do and your grades are really, really suffering, and you're sitting down and playing video games rather than getting your homework done. So it would make sense that we'd want to sit down and have some sort of limit or kind of intervention or something where we start to say, let's figure this out together. Like, you probably need to come and get your homework done first and then video games. There's a chance that if you just said no video games, that it might help, but it also just might hurt. It might create a lot of resentment. And it's important for us to really remember that the whole point of punishing or rewarding or whatever it is you want to call it, disciplining, is that we're trying to teach. And to teach is to say that we want to instill good ways of thinking, good ways of acting, good ways of making choices, which is to say we want to change someone's behavior for the positive. So if what we're doing doesn't change someone's behavior for the positive, then it doesn't make sense. And the distinction there is that when we just kind of levy something on a kid that just feels kind of judicial, and it's like it's just an aversive, and it doesn't really have a logical connection with whatever the actual issue is. For example, if I had a kid where I was just kind of upset with the kid, maybe constantly saying not so nice things to me, and then I said, fine, I'll take your phone away. It's like, well, we really need to slow down and realize that I'm upset with him because he's doing something that kind of hurts my feelings. And now I'm just doing something back to him effectively to do the same thing. It's basically kind of a vengeance transaction, but it's easy for us adults to hide that away in these terms of disciplining, and you need to learn good behavior, I don't want to spoil you, and all these other things. It's easy for us to kind of hide the fact that we're just kind of acting out the same thing in a way that the kid's doing. And then also, it's easy for us to hide away the longer term results that tends to produce. It's like, well, okay, do you see now how your kid is even more upset with you and is now calling you names even more, and you're looking for more and more things to punish the kid with or take away from the kiddo? You're not actually producing good results with that way of being, even though that's why you tell yourself you're doing it, is because you want the kid to learn good behavior. So in this particular case, I completely agree that taking the phone away would make sense. Now, if it were me, I wouldn't be taking the phone away permanently. I would, or at least I'd be sitting down and thinking about, well, okay, maybe for a few weeks or a few months, and then we're going to have a serious discussion about what the kiddo would need to agree to, and perhaps to show me that he's ready to have it back, and then what limits are going to be put in place. It's also okay if we sort of feel like a kiddo in that circumstance, maybe we realize that he just wasn't ready to have it, and that can be very individual, kid to kid. I think we always want to be thinking about what can we do to start to usher this kiddo towards growth. Just in the same way that if we were trying to, say, teach a kid a particular skill, like maybe baking a recipe or an academic skill or what have you, if the kid's behavior isn't great, and if they're not being, the nicest or the politest, or they're engaging in some destructive behavior, if you just wholesale remove the opportunity, that doesn't really teach anyone anything. At the same time, though, it could be true that the kiddo's just not ready for whatever it is. So the bottom line is, yes, this is a circumstance where it makes sense because it's a needed limit to put in place because of some real problems that are going on, and the punishment or the limit that we're putting in place in this particular case logically connects and seems to be an important step for us to foster health and safety and things like that for the kiddo and other people around this kid. So thank you again for the assertive and thoughtful comment. I so appreciate it. It means a lot to me, and I hope that this response video was of use. Otherwise, this is Dr. Cyrus Veil signing off.